So my name is Omar Rampersad. It is 2:56 p.m., October 24, 2019. So I'm going to give you a sample of today's readings. Um, I've been posting samples all day yesterday to give you an idea of how consistent the um, the increase in power is. So by now, everybody knows that I'm being tracked inside of my home. This is common knowledge. It's part of being a target. You're tracked inside of your home. So the signals being used to track is being picked up by the spectrum analyzer. So there are three components. There's the RF, the EF, and the EMF. So the EMF, the RF, and the EF. So the EF field shows the power. So when it's said that the power is turned up on maximum power, it means that the electrical component of these signals that's being used to track is turned up. So this is, if you're looking at this number here, and you can see a change as I move the detector along my hand, you'll see different readings. And that's because the readings, the power, I should say, behind the readings are constantly changing because it's a computerized system doing it. So my obliques are tagged, and you'll notice that the EMF reading is within a range, and it's also alarming. So I set the alarm to go off after 10. These readings are high, even though they're low, they're still high. And it's been like that all night. I'm suspecting that that's an indication of somebody, quote unquote, logging in. So somebody is using um, a remote frequency, whatever device they're using, and they're focusing it on my body. So the detector then picks up those signals. So I have noticed that the higher the EMF reading, um, it would, I'm suspecting it would indicate, I'm trying to choose my words carefully here. Um, I'm suspecting it indicates that more than one person is logged on, because there are times in the night when I have this detector next to me that the EMF reading goes down to almost zero, if not zero, which means I'm suspecting that nobody is logged on for that time. And as soon as somebody images me on a computer that's located, the computer is probably not immediately around the unit, but the imaging system has to be somewhere around the unit. As soon as those signals hit my body, the detector picks it up. So it's not a camera, because cameras don't focus signals on the objects that it's taking a picture of. But so it's a through the wall technology using signals that obviously go through the wall, like microwaves. So as soon as you point the device to the person that you're imaging share silhouette style, then a detector will immediately pick up the signal. So that's the logic behind it. So the higher this number, I'm suspecting that the higher the number of people logging in. Also, the power would probably give you another indication of how many people might be logged in at the same time. So my obliques are hurting right now. And you notice that the electrical rating is changing there. It's 500. Turn the camera down a bit there. $250, I think, over 100. So my back is being pulsed. 300. So I'm just going to take the camera off the computer, and I'm going to point it downwards like this. And I'm going to put my hand next to the sensor, which is here. And you can tell that the power is turned up quite high. So my hand is tagged with a high power. Take my hand away. So I'm in pain right now. And I will be taking my blood pressure readings after this. So my blood pressure will be fluctuating all over the place. So, and I'm in pain. So the blood pressure is going to pick up the fact that I'm in pain as well. So this is the power being turned up quite high on me right now, and I'm in pain. My hip, my right back, focus points, and the right butt, right above, and the kidney area. Take my hand away. Hand back. Take the hand away. Hand back. Take the hand away. Put a live wire next to it. Take the wire away. Put the wire back. So you can see that the electrical currents on the hand is comparable to that being detected from the live wire. And so, it's the equivalent of my putting my finger in a socket, basically. So I'm just going to plug this in. And again, I'll show you the readings. So, well, actually, I'm not set up to plug it in yet because, well, actually, yeah, I'll do that a little bit later. The computer I'm using doesn't have more than one port to plug it in. So, because the camera that I'm using is plugged into the only port that it has. So I'll have to switch computers to be able to show you that. Anyways, so let me talk a little bit about the tweets that I tweeted today. Those are mine. ROSHINI 911. I talked about a conspiracy that started in this building from where I was flagged on a suspicion. And then the reports based on that suspicion was piggybacked on until the suspicion became a perceived truth. As I'm being harassed with, it's absolute. So it's a way of bypassing the legal system and making a suspicion seem to be a fact. Really, it's not a fact. But it could be taken in a court of law based on preponderance of evidence, I think. I think that's how it works. That it is a fact, that there's so much evidence that it cannot be disproven, which of course is bullshit, basically. I mean, there are people who are found guilty in trials and open up the case and reverse the verdict. So there's nothing absolute in making something absolute. There's nothing absolute. Really, there isn't. So especially if you're bypassing the legal system and using a loophole to make something seem to be absolute, will not stand the test in court. But perpetrators and criminals will use loopholes to artificially criminalize somebody they're targeting in the community targeting program, especially. The perpetrators will use the loopholes to artificially criminalize or to commit based on lies. And this is exactly what's going on here, based on the comments I'm hearing. So it's a conspiracy. And I've documented step by step for years with the cops, with the management office in this building. I've been telling my family what's going on. I told the lawyer, I've been telling the therapist, anybody who will listen. Now, a lot of people are taking part in the programming, so in the targeting. So they will not listen and they will deny anything is going on. The elephant in the room will not talk about it. But people who are in a position to take statements and so on have to listen. They can deny it. They can say, well, we can't do anything about it, but they have to listen to what you're saying. So I've told the cops in emails. I went to 4 police stations. They came to my house. I told them exactly the same thing. And each time I went to the cops talking about what is actually going on, they keep telling me I'm paranoid, I'm delusional, even though they are the ones who are taking the registration based on the lies that's being told about me under suspicion and are continuously flagging me based on the lies that's being told about me and outsourcing the surveillance based on the flag. Even though they're doing that, they're still telling me when I complain that the informants that are reporting into them directly or indirectly, subcontracting or contracting directly, the informants that's doing this harassing and this targeting on their behalf is abusing the power given to them to stalk because for some reason it seemed to be legal if the cops say, gee, follow this person and see what's going on and report back to me. Take a contract. Maybe they're getting paid for it. I'm not quite sure. There is no accountability on how they do it, whether they're telling lies, whether the victims are being set up, framed, which is exactly what's going on. Because the informants, in order to keep the contract, have to get something to report on. They have to have content to report on. So they create it. And they create it by using remote technologies like what I just demonstrated. Inciting anger with remote technologies, like burning people's skin or hitting your brain with certain frequencies to make you angry, or just to make you um, operate on a lower level than you normally would, to degrade your performance, or to be confused. These technologies can make you feel confused or disoriented, degrade your health to make it look like you're not taking care of yourself. So it's a setup and a frame. It really doesn't matter how they're doing it to get the information to report because there is no accountability. Although the victim is complaining, in my case, about the way this is being done, maybe the flagging is legal, the process itself is legal, the way it's being handled is illegal, what the informants are doing is illegal. Voice suppression is illegal. It's a conspiracy. No due processing is illegal. It's a conspiracy. So although it starts with a process that's meant to do good, because I'm suspecting it came out of the Anti-Terrorism Act, it is being abused by dirty cops, by criminals who are working with the dirty cops to traffic, to experiment. The alert system is an experiment. So because it is an experiment, It has to be covered. It's a covert experiment, which in itself is illegal. So it has to be covered. So it has to be there has to be lies told to cover it, which is exactly what the cops are doing when they tell me I'm delusional and mentally ill. They're compromising my credibility or trying to in order to cover up the experimentation and the trafficking because I'm not really mentally ill. So what they did in my house when they came and told me I'm mentally ill, this is brutality, abuse, harassment. And if a cop who is supposed to be this representation of keeping the society, the public secure and safe, tells you that you're mentally ill and paranoid and delusional, if you're a psychologically weak person, it will have a psychological effect on you. You will actually believe it because you're supposed to listen to the cops. But the cops are dirty, as Epstein's case proved over and over again in so many cases, where the victims went to the cops and the cops just didn't do anything about it or even tried to make them look like they were prostitutes or make them feel like they were prostitutes. They're dirty cops. Therefore, they should not be respected and they should not be believed. And they should be questioned and should be investigated, which is what I'm trying to make happen here. And of course, I'm being targeted even more heavily. The power is turned up, as I just demonstrated. Heart palpitations, which I also demonstrated with my blood pressure readings. Lack of sleep. Um, Creation of fear outside the window. Terrorization. Stalking. Deliberately inciting anger or trying to. All these things are abuse on the part of the informants working with the Toronto police who are flagging me based on lies. So that's what those tweets were about. Talk to you another time.